Zan, do you like to call quarters or palms more? What's your favorite match coverage? These are the most frequently asked questions I get every single day when I'm streaming or in the comment section here on the YouTube channel. And to be honest with you guys, I don't have a favorite coverage. I have coverages that I feel super comfortable with against certain offensive spacings and number setups. But what I can help you guys with here today is giving you a better idea of when you should call quarters versus when you should call palms. So make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, hit that notification bell, grab out your pen and pad. Let's get after it. Now for today's video, we're going to explain that quarters and palms have very specific rule sets that you will mostly notice the differences when your opponent is playing trips. And I'm not talking about just your standard trips tight end. I'm talking about spread trips as well, such as this formation that I'm showing on the screen, tray open. When it comes to playing a compression formation, such as a tight or maybe even a bunch, quarters and palms don't have a lot of differences because they're going to utilize these compression rule sets that are known as the box check that we've talked about here before on the channel. So what I want to do is I want to talk about which coverage is going to be the better call for you when dealing with spread trips formations. And this is going to depend on whether or not they're attacking over the middle or they're attacking the outside of the field. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make sure that I have both these plays in my audibles, and we'll go over some very generic differences in these coverages, starting with cover 4 quarters. Now, before I get too deep with this here, I just want to make you guys aware that there is a coverage Bible available to you guys on my strategy website, gridirongameplans.gg. If anything that I talk about in this video, which I'm going to keep it very basic for you guys, is something that is sounding like a different language or is a foreign concept to you, you should definitely go sign up on the website and take a look at that coverage Bible, because I will teach you guys everything you need to know about match coverage. Now, this is, like I said, just going to be some basic stuff here, but we're going to be talking about numbering of receivers, and we'll just kind of leave the rest of it to you guys on the website there. I'm going to make it really easy to understand. So let's go ahead and break down the rule set for quarters. Now, when we talk about quarters coverage, we have to number our receivers outside to inside. So what I'm going to do here is start on the right side with Amari Cooper. He is our number 1 receiver. Then from there, what we are going to do is we are going to take a look to the next guy over, which is Davante Adams. Davante Adams is the number 2 receiver, with our number 3 receiver being the tight end that's split out as a slot receiver, Brock Bowers. So this is the outside to inside numbering system for match coverage. On the left side of the field, we have a 1 receiver split all the way out wide in Higgins. And technically the second option, numbering outside to inside, is just in the backfield. The number 2 on this side is Saquon Barkley. So whenever you have a 3 receiver side, we are going to have differences in how quarters and palms play. Let's start off here with how this coverage behaves with the handling of vertical attacking threats on the trip side. Our outside corner, Peanut Tillman, he will relate to the number 1 receiver. That means that if that player goes vertical, he will convert from a deep zone into man-to-man on that route. It doesn't matter whether it breaks out, it breaks in, it curls back to the quarterback, it breaks back towards the sideline on a comeback, it goes all the way over the top on a crazy route, or it's a scramble drill and the quarterback has 8 years. He's going to be locked into man on him the rest of the way. Once he goes through that vertical landmark, it turns him into man. The next player over in the deep zone, that is our safety, McKinney. He relates to the number 2 receiver. So what we're going to be doing here is playing Davante Adams if he goes vertical. Again, if he breaks to the corner, he runs with him. If he breaks to the post, he runs with him. If he snaps off on a dig or a curl or runs any scramble drill, he stays locked into man-to-man with him. As you can see, there is no number 2 in the slot lined up across from Hamilton. Our number 2 is in the backfield. This allows him to be able to relate to the number 3 receiver all the way on the other side of the field. So immediately, if you're following what I'm saying, you can kind of tell what the strength of this coverage is going to be. That is going to be if our opponents were to run some sort of deep over concept. So let's talk about maybe 4 verticals. In 4 verticals, you oftentimes are going to have that 3rd receiver on the crossing route. So many players love to throw this. Well, this is valuable to us because that player, Bowers, is running across the field towards the guy that is actually going to relate to him. So when I snap this ball here, you see that Hamilton basically relates to this guy and plays match coverage on him, and I can't just shove that ball down the field. This compared to what a lot of players would be anticipating would be more so like a zone coverage call. When you get that, you know, cover 3 or even a cover 4 zone where they just run off the coverage on the other side of the field, they're going to check into verticals and then just let X run off all the deep zones. And then they're going to throw this crossing route that is always open. This has been the #1 route combination in Madden for so long. Obviously a lot of players run bunch, but when you go online, you face verticals out of trips, empty base flex, things like that, where that third receiver on the deep crossing route is always the money route. So this quarters call is really, really nice because it allows this safety to relate to the third receiver on the trip side. But you can obviously tell that there are some weaknesses to this as well. If we know that we end up having that safety relating to Bowers and Bowers is breaking outside, well, this is a problem because that safety has to go all the way over and match him, and he's going to be wide open. So it isn't necessarily the best call in the world when the third receiver is breaking outside, because if they go vertical, vertical, vertical with the third receiver going outside, that is troublesome. Now, there is a little bit of nuance to this, but let's say for whatever reason, B does not go vertical. In this particular case, you can get away with calling quarters because this will allow the coverage to kind of redistribute. And you see that the safety can then kind of match that player breaking to the sideline. So quarters is really weak when everybody on the trip side pushes vertical with one guy breaking outside, namely that third receiving option. But there are better alternatives to call when that third receiver is breaking out and they're running everyone else vertical on the trip side. So let's go ahead here and break down palms. So I'm going to check into palms here. You're going to see a slightly different look out of this. Notice that the outside corner rolled up into press coverage. I'm going to get into why that happens here momentarily. But one thing that I would definitely recommend so you don't give away a quarters palms tell against trips is going into your shell feature. And when you're on the play call menu, flick the right analog stick until it says cover 4. That is going to keep your outside corner in an off alignment. And this is really, really important for making all your coverage calls look the same. This is in fact a principle that I teach in my coverage Bible, because we're not just going to be running quarters and palms. We're also going to be mixing in cover 2, sometimes cover 6, cover 9, a little cover 3 match. Sometimes it's man under and I want to surprise you. And I want to keep all those coverages looking the same pre-snap. Sometimes I want to blitz out of these looks and I don't want my opponent discerning what I'm in because I have a different alignment one play to the next. So keep everything looking the same with this shell feature. But let's go back into that route combination here. So now we have our shell. We're in cover 4 palms, but it looks the same as our quarters does. If I were to audible into cover 4 quarters, you'll see a slight difference. Nothing really, really crazy, but it looked pretty good. Okay. Now let's talk about the rules for palms. This is probably as advanced as this video is going to get. Okay. When we talk about our numbering system for this coverage, our outside defender, Tillman, he is no longer only playing the #1 receiver if he goes vertical. He is playing the #1 receiver no matter what. For all intents and purposes, this should basically just look like this. He's manned up on this guy. Even though he's in a deep zone, he's straight up manned up on this guy. I will show you guys what this looks like just by putting the B receiver on a smoke route, and I want you to just watch what happens here. So you see, if I were to try to throw that smoke route, we have Tillman playing that. Okay, so he's playing that route no matter what. It doesn't even have to go vertical. It could be a drag, it could be literally anything. So you see here, if I try to throw this drag, obviously Tillman in that off coverage alignment, that's a quick throw. You got to be careful with that. You might want to run up and play that press alignment in those cases, because that is why the guy actually plays the default press technique in this coverage. So if you want to leave that alone, just be aware that that is something that you know, obviously you have to be aware of, but he will actually play a press technique on this and kind of stay on the back of him, still right there, able to get open over the middle. But again, in terms of the rest of the rules for this coverage, you're going to understand why this handles sideline floods here in a moment. So let's get back to all 3 receivers going vertical, but that third receiver running to the sideline, which was a real issue for this weak side safety. The cool thing about quarters is that with this player, Tillman, basically locking into man on #1 no matter what, this will then change the rules not only for our safety, but also for our slot defender. You see, in quarters, our slot defender just jams that second receiver and then stays kind of in the curl to flat area. In palms, he has vertical matching responsibilities on #2. So in other words, he relates to #2 if he goes vertical. It doesn't matter if he runs vertical and over the middle, vertical into the sideline. If he goes vertical, you're going to notice the slot corner and the quarter flat matches him, okay? And because of that, that allows our safety on this side to relate to number 3. So in other words, if all 3 guys on the trip side go vertical, these are the matchups that you will see in this particular coverage. Now, I've just manned them up so you can see what it looks like, but I'm going to go ahead and reset the play here so you see the fresh play art, and I'm going to click off. Now, let's go back to that Bowers corner route. You're going to see here that in this particular case, you don't have to recruit that safety from the backside. You actually just have a guy that is able to be there and match it. Now, this game has a lot of aggressive catching. I understand that we're getting agged no matter what. There's going to come a time and a place, especially in Ultimate Team, where we're going to get to a point where knockouts are going to happen. I want you guys to learn fundamental coverage rules, because as long as you continue playing tight coverage and you're getting agged, just kind of breathe that sigh of relief knowing that eventually your day is coming. I really feel for the players that can't cover anything and are getting agged when they do. If you're a player out there that plays really, really good coverage and you're just getting agged frequently, join the club, because our time is coming. But you see here how everything on this right side of the field matched the way I said. You see the outside corner playing 1, the slot receiver is played by our quarter flat defender vertical, and the safety is able to handle this sail by number 3 to the corner. Palms is better when your opponents are flooding the sideline with 3 verticals. Now, of course, you could defend sideline floods with only 2 verticals from quarters, but those constraints where if everyone pushes, that safety on the other side having to travel, that could be a real issue for the quarters defense. Now, we've only been focused here in this video so far on the trip side of the field. I want to show you that in this particular alignment where you have a solo receiver with a running back in the backfield, there are actually rules for those players too that you need to be aware of. And it doesn't matter whether you're in palms or if you're in quarters, okay? So I'm going to make this real simple. No matter what coverage you call, quarters or palms, the quarter flat defender guards the running back, the outside corner defends the number 1 receiver, no matter where they go. Okay, so I'm just going to audible back into quarters here, and I'm going to put that smoke route on the outside again. And in fact, I'm going to put a Texas route here. And you're going to see that I can't throw the Texas route. The angle route is matched, and you see right there that I had a 3-rec hook in the middle of the field that was able to kind of bracket the running back over the middle. So you have that quarter flat defender that takes the running back to the flat, and then you have help in the middle of the field in the form of that 3-receiver hook. So you see right here with this matching behavior, this ended up being pretty well defended. So that is the rule set that exists when you have 3-by-1 with 3 to the right, 1 to the left with the running back in the backfield. And that was quarters. Now let's go ahead and run palms here. So again, I'm going to do kind of the same thing. This time I'm just going to run a wheel and a drag. And I'm going to do that same kind of route combination where I just push vertical on the right side. And you're going to see that the quarter flat's going to run everywhere with the running back. And you're going to see that that outside corner plays the X receiver on that drag. Now the drag could potentially be open, but again, he didn't go vertical, but he was matched. Okay, so that is a rule set specifically for a solo receiver. If I were to create a similar alignment out of another formation where it ended up turning into a 3-by-1, you would see the exact same principles. To best do this here, I'm going to show you guys, let's run this normal Y off week here. And if I were to come out in quarters here, so this is what we would call a 2-by-2 formation. If I were to motion Adams across, now we are once again 1-by-3 or 3-by-1. So if we're in quarters here, so I would flip my nickel corner with them. But right here, if we're in quarters, you're going to have the same constraints that we talked about, where if we have basically this entire thing here where we're just going vertical, 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 that safety on the left has to run a long way to get to that tight end sail route. You don't want that. So this is a really, really good situation for us if we're staying on our P's and Q's. Oh yeah, when they go to this motion, they're trying to get the tight end open on a corner route. That would be a really good spot for us to say, all right, you know what, screw that. I'm playing palms. And you just audible into palms, and now you get these matching rules that allow for that safety on that side to match the tight end, and now you've got a dead play just by simply checking into the right coverage call. So it's not just the formation they break the huddle in, it also is a rule set that applies to motion. So whether they're physically motioning a guy or they're utilizing auto motion, you guys need to have both of these in your audibles. Now, again, these aren't the only 2 coverages I call. In fact, these are the coverages I call least, but they are very, very useful to your defense. Really, really important for stopping vertical attacking threats from spread-based offenses. Now, of course, we have all kinds of other coverages in our match coverage, in our coverage Bible on Gridiron Game Plan. So again, I've got quarters, palms, cover 6, cover 9. I've also got breakdowns for cover 3 match, how cover 2 matches. And I showed this to you against all different types of formations. We focus on spread trips here. I've also got content on defending doubles, 2x2 tight, bunch formations, or strong formations. How do we deal with the auto motion that I just kind of alluded to a little bit ago? You guys name it, it's all in our coverage Bible. Make sure you guys go check it out. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, this is Zan. Get the lab and good luck.